my goodness. Little bumpy. 400 to the second. That's less than the blink of an eye.
Second race weekend of the BMW IBSF Bobsleigh and Skeleton World Cup. Evening falls over Winterberg in Germany's Hochsauerland. We are ready to go for the second and deciding heat in the first race of the four-man Bobsleigh World Cup. Hello everybody, I'm Martin Haven. Alongside me is American bobsled driver Brittany Reinbolt. And Brittany, this track is very familiar with everybody, but like every sheet of ice on the planet, it has its dangers.
And that is true. We saw that in the first heat right here with Billy Meyerheinz. Crashed in the first heat, but thankfully they are all okay, and I think we'll see them again taking a second run. Here we have Latvia. They are, Kim Romanis is in third place, but it's quite a big gap between second and first, so we have a race on our hands for third place. Only 800s behind him is Lochner, who is a world champion and last year's winner here. So we have a race on our hands, and then here we go, first and second place. They're 1400s ahead of third place, but only 200 separates the two. So Friedrich right now in second place. Let's see if he could, the Olympic champion in two-man and four-man, could pull off an upset here and take down Walter, his teammate. But Walter wants to win, and he is gunning for this. You can see here, solid first run in the lead, but like we said, only 200s ahead of his teammate, and I think Germany wants a sweep here. We'll see if they can pull it off.
Well, the chances are strong. They went 1, 2, 3 last year in a different order. As you said, Hansi Lochner was the winner. He lies in fourth, just 800s behind Keeper Manis. Keeper Manis' task is to try and prevent a clean sweep, but look behind. Tie for fifth, 500s behind, 1100s, and then 100th, 10th of a second. And when you get out of the top 10, the gaps are even tinier. 300s, 300s, 200s, 500s. I mean, effectively, from 10th down to 18th, or 17th, is pretty much a dead heat for all those sleds. So we see some gain, some lose. Who's going to be standing in the leader's box a long time and who's going to be going straight out the back of the finish area? We'll wait and see. This is the first of our four-man races of the season. It's also the first of our four-man races in 24 hours, because we go again tomorrow. Traditionally, Sunday is four-man day. Because we're in Latvia, where these guys come from in Sigulda last week, it was double two-man week. This week, it's double four-man. And not just four-man, but four women as well, because first off will be Alana Myers-Taylor of the USA with an all-female crew in her sled. So ice conditions, it's around -4 like it's been all day. Air temperature apparently -4, more like minus, I don't know, umpteen. It's very damp and quite windy at the top of the track there, especially when you're trying to warm up. So lots of fans down here in the finish area, coincidentally right beside the Glühwein stand, which is why things get a little louder as the day goes on. Alana Myers-Taylor will be first off. Ahead of her is Billy Meyerheinz, who crashed right at the end of the first heat. Then Ivo de Bruyne, Roman Heinrich and so on. They go in reverse order of their first heat performance, which means the leader always goes last to defend that slender 200ths of a second lead. The Olympic silver medalist leads the Olympic gold medalist in four-man. There's a battle to whet any appetite. First four-man sled on the ice, second in deciding heat. World Cup #1 in Winterberg, Germany. Alana Myers-Taylor of the USA with Parker Tiffany, Nicole Brungart and Jessica Davis. Davis in her first ever bobsled race. And incredibly, Alana's 15th four-man race of her career, as well as all of her women's races.
Yeah, you saw Alana really trying to get the crowd hyped up there, taking advantage of that crowd that we were talking about in the first heat, and just out here having some fun and showing the world what women could do. Ooh, a little mishap. The brakemen are not down, but now they're down.
New crew, very inexperienced. Not many of them have got more than half a dozen races under their belt, so loading into the four-man sled, not easy.
Exactly, and there's a lot of monobob races going on out there. Women are driving monobobs, but four women's here.
Yeah, the form, and again, you know, once you get athletes in, even if they start as push athletes, lots of drivers, Alana, Justin Olsen, you know, Anja Schneider-Heinz, the former world champion, lots and lots started as pushers, liked it so much they decided they wanted to drive, and with monobob coming on strong, this may be a really good way to get athletes into the sport for the USA.
Exactly, and Alana wants to see four women in the Olympics.
We're going to have a few more sleds before that becomes viable, but who knows what the future holds. 56.37, she's down and done. and it was a little rockier run than their first trip down. You can see the heads whipping around at the back, and that just goes to show, actually, if you've ever taken a taxi bob trick down a track, you know what pressures are involved. It's hard to show on the TV because all the athletes are so good at absorbing that punishment.
Exactly. It looks like a smooth water slide on TV, but in the back of the sled, it feels like you're getting tackled in a football game.
Yeah, it really does.
An American football game.
Yeah, and spoken as a tackle.
Yeah. So here you see the load. Something happened on the load. Oh, we got the number 3 girl's foot got caught. That's Nicole Brungart, but they take care of it well, adjust, and they're in. And now they're in.
Yeah.
Oh, nope, sorry, now they're in.
Yeah, checking back to make sure the handles were in. So, you know, even relative rookies in the sled still have certain drills that you need to do in each position.
Exactly. And that wasn't her smooth trip, but it was her 4th trip of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up, wasn't a smooth trip down, first time either for Billy Meyer Hansen, his crew, Silbrieri, Benedict, Nick Pauge, and rookie Jean-Jacques Keller. But they all got out of the sled, dusted themselves down, brushed the ice out of their ears, and they're ready to go again.
Yeah, part of being a bobsledder is getting up and getting back on that horse or back in the sled. So right now they're in the green. They have a little more weight on those women.
Yep.
Despite the crash, so they're still going to have a good finish here.
And a summer of push training as well, which the girls haven't had either. They've come late into the program compared to even the rookies on Billy's team.
Exactly. He's still a little skittish up here. Kind of looks a little out of control in the straightaways, but I have a feeling he's going to be focused as he goes down into the bottom portion of the track.
Yeah, what's Jean-Jacques Keller right at the back? He's not sitting as comfortably as he could. You see him bouncing up and down on some of the expansion joints. Now I think he's got himself fully into the sled.
Yeah. And let's see, now we're coming up in the area. They had some trouble. Oh, he's got this.
Yeah.
Way more under control. Oh, yep.
Little flop off 13, but that's acceptable for speed. And that's what he was looking for the last time. Doesn't do the victory roll out the final corner. Well done, ladies. Successfully down. Well done. Also, Billy Marhan's 55.06. And that's a much tidier run from the Swiss veteran. So, relatively new crew. Benedict Nick Pauge slid for Croatia in the games. Now on Billy Meyerhand's Swiss crew, Silbrieri, relatively new, and Jean-Jacques Keller, first ever 4-man race this afternoon.
Still a little high here on the exit, but definitely cleaned it up and made some improvements after that first run.
Well, the great news is normally you do 6 training runs, 2 race runs, come back next year. They're coming back tomorrow, so you get another chance to learn and clean it up.
Exactly.
Double race weekends, the girls should push for that a lot.
I would agree.
Because that really ramps up the experience. Well,
Yeah.
next up is the Netherlands. Tom Delahunty in the orange coat at the back is their coach. And Joost Duma behind Ivo de Bruin, rookie, first ever World Cup race for him. Dennis Venke and Janko Francic are on the back of the sled at 3 and 4. And Ivo de Bruin, these guys started in 5:23. Now his target is just 0.03 of a second in front of him. And in fact, if he could find a 10th, he'd go from 16th, 17th, where he is now, into the top 12. So tidy up one tiny error and the world's your oyster.
Exactly. Classic Winterberg. The race is close from top to bottom, and they're not looking about what's behind. They're looking to move up ahead.
Great looking suits on these Dutch guys as well. Great livery on the sled.
All right, 5.25 start. Controls the kink well.
Well, that's the first potential trap. 16 corners. There are 16 ways to get it wrong, right?
Exactly. And 9, he's improving on his lead even more.
Yeah.
A little skid there. I don't think that's going to cost him too much because he still has almost a second lead.
Better speed than Billy Meyerhands in the Swiss sled. This is actually looking like a tidy run from Ivo de Bruin as well.
Yeah, I think he has potential to move up.
Thundering down the fast part of this Winterberg track, late exit off 13. That's what he needs to keep the speed. Hold on to it here at the end and across the line. 54.97. Billy in the centre and the crew are out of the leader's box and in will go the Dutch. 54.97. His first heat was
54.97.
So consistency is key. There's no point having one quick run and one shoddy run. 2 runs that are very consistent will always help you.
Especially because the track sometimes slows down between heats.
Yeah.
So if you could be consistent, you're in potential to move up.
You see the Belgian girls there helping out with the sled. The Dutch guys were helping them earlier in the women's race.
Yeah, I think they have a pretty good partnership going this year. They're both coached by Tom Delahunty, working together well.
Yeah, 2 small Benelux nations working together. And not a bad run at all from Ivo de Bruyn. And again, the four-man race tomorrow means they have more experience going into that. Another couple of trips down.
Yeah, the thing I just love about this crew is these guys love bobsled.
Yeah. Okay, next up is French France with Roman Heinrich, the driver, former brakeman, and Léon Lefebvre, Dorian Otteville, and rookie Jordan Beitbier, I should probably say. Heinrich was saying to me earlier that the guys are threatening to coat his suit in Vaseline so he can get his butt in the sled faster.
Hey, it's worth a shot. They're in the green. Slower than their first start. 5:22, they pushed to 5:18 first heat.
Well, they had 300ths of a second over Ivo de Bruyn, so you really can't afford any errors, can you?
Exactly. They're only 300ths ahead right now, so they're maintaining that small lead, but with a 300th slower start, we'll see what happens.
Well, over 2 miles of ice, we frequently have dead heats here to the 100th of a second.
Yep, and that hit cost them. They're already starting to lose a little bit of time on that lead.
Yeah, half a kilometre, now a full, no, actually they're pretty level on speed with Ivo de Bruyn, so the gap remains at 300ths of a second. This is going to be right to the 100th at the line.
It's starting to lose control.
Yes.
What's it going to come down to at the finish eye?
Heinrich looking for speed and gets it. 800ths, 54.92, 200ths quicker than his previous run. And so he opens up the margin from 300ths to 800ths of a second.
Yeah, despite tap at the bottom of the track, they found some speed in the finish curve.
Yep. Good run from Roman Heinrich of France as he moves into the lead, taking over from Ivo de Bruyn. So far, everybody has held on to their positions. That is not the usual situation in Winterberg.
Definitely not normal. Took them a while to get down. That could have been what caused them a little slower start time. They're through the kink. They're still out of the sled.
Well, you could see at the back there, Jordan whacking on the handle to try and get it to pop up so it'd flip back into position. Because if it's sticking out, it'll catch on the walls, break off, and slow the sled down.
Yeah, it gets dangerous. But that's what makes watching four-man so exciting, is watching those loads and just waiting for the excitement to happen.
15 sleds to go here in Winterberg, Germany. Brad Hall of Great Britain next up with Nick Gleeson and Ben Simons, joined at 3 by Alan Toward, the rookie from the northeast of England, former Great Britain discus thrower. And Brad Hall, a former brakeman. His first four-man races were braking for John Jackson and then for Lamin Dean before he started driving a couple of seasons ago. First in two-man, then in 2 and 4. Had quite some success in North America, British bobsledding, in the North America's Cup races in Salt Lake and Lake Placid. We will go back to Lake Placid on our run into the World Championships in Whistler in February and March.
5:15 first heat and a 5:23 second heat. Maybe the start ramp is slowing down, but they only had 100th of a lead and they already lost it in the red going down the track.
Yeah, nobody has matched their first run start, so it may well be frosting up a bit at the top.
It's very possible. And if those ski hills start blowing, they may like to make snow up there, which could affect the start quite a bit.
100th of a second in it. He was 100th ahead of the French. He's now 100th behind, and that's gone out to 5. And this is, again, a rocky run from Brad Hall. They'll have to think about runners for tomorrow and how to get more control on the back end.
Yeah, he is skidding all over the place, and I think this lead, we're gonna start to see some change up in the order here, I believe.
Well, Coach Lee Johnson frequently drove this sled in its early days, so I wonder if he's going with a setup that worked for him. May not be working so well for Brad at the end of the run. 1900s back, the French move up one, so there's the first of the guillotines to fall, and it falls on Team Great Britain. They slip down 2 places behind France and the Netherlands. Not the result that Brad Hall wanted.
Now, you might have been right with runners or equipment. Sometimes on this track, you like to run fat runners, but sometimes you sacrifice some control for that.
13th place last year. So Brad Hall will struggle to do that, I think, this year.
Yeah, that hit out of going into Kreisel, it's costly.
Well, the other factor, of course, is that you don't normally race on the same ice that you trained on. You don't get a practice run on the track on race day either, so you're guessing what the ice conditions will be on race day based on what they were in training, and that's not often the same. Almost never. Roman Heinrich, Ivo de Bruyn, Brad Hall, that's your top 3 with 14 sleds to go in Winterberg, Germany. Michael Vogt to Switzerland, a World Cup rookie this season, makes his first four-man race in World Cup here this afternoon.
600th of the lead. They controlled the kink well. They're on path to maintain this.
Yeah, and the same speed at the start, or the same starting time as the French, so they maintain that lead and now just extended a fraction.
Ooh, that skid right there might slow him down. But they're still, despite the skid and hit, they are still gaining some time.
Well, he's had one four-man race here in Europa Cup, the junior level of sliding, but this is his World Cup debut, still just 21 years old. Swiss bobsledding definitely rebuilding after...
And they're losing control.
Whoa!
But still ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, that just shows that the top is crucial. Very messy bottom, but super clean top. So he was able to maintain that speed and maintain his lead.
Well, Swiss sleds always have good speed when the numbers are high. And way up past the finish line, just about stays on the ice, so they won't be using new runners necessarily tomorrow. If you run out there on the concrete, basically you find the nearest trash can and toss them.
Sadly true, sadly true.
They are hugely highly polished to a mirror perfection to try and reduce the friction. Michael Vogt, then the World Cup rookie, holds on to the lead with still 13 sleds to go.
Yeah, he had a little skid there, but overall the top was pretty clean, which helped him out, and then lost a little control at the bottom. Like we said, you can see here he's flopping off the curve 11. Thought he was going to lose it in 12 and 13, but he yanked it off the curve there and took care of business.
Really hauled it off there, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a safety steer, definitely. Switzerland lead. Now, Yoon Jung-won of Korea at the line with his crew, the tied Olympic silver medalist in bobsleigh four-man. First four-man race of the season, Winterberg, Germany, in this double race weekend. Martin Haven and Brittany Reinbold to the USA watching the action.
5:18 first start, 5:19 second start, so that's probably the most consistent we've seen at the start ramp between heats 1 and 2. And once again in the green, we like to see that a lot on the second heat.
Yeah, 200s over the Swiss, who currently lead now out to 600s.
Going into corner 5 and 6, will we see the hit out of Kreisel? No, he pulls it off.
Okay, 500s in front, but carrying that extra speed into that 270-degree corner will really help.
Yeah. Only 400s in the lead now, and now's where the track starts to pick up and people start to lose control.
Now, the fastest two sleds at the last timing clocks were Michael Vogt, the leader, and Billy Meyerhans of Switzerland. So the Swiss sleds are quick down here. Are the Koreans going to be in front?
Oh,
No!
100!
Yeah, and that speed in the final corner. It's very steep uphill to the finish line. The camera doesn't quite show it, but you climb about 2 stories. So starting at ground floor, coming out at roof level as you come over the finish line. 133.2. Didn't have enough speed quite in the sled to hold on to that lead. So the second sled tumbles.
Yep, it's true, and like you said in that finish curve, it's uphill. So if you're going uphill with that weight and you're slowing down, you're just taking more distance to the finish line.
Yeah. Much easier to lose speed going up than it is going down. However, the Koreans slot into second ahead of France and the Netherlands.
Let's go!
Justin Olsen of the USA making his World Cup four-man debut for the season here this weekend like everybody else. No Cody Basque, got a little bit bumped up in the two-man races and has gone back home to recuperate for the second part of the season. So just in with Alana Myers, the only US representatives in the race, and they've gone for the full-on black night train look on this sled as well. Rookie Blaine McConnell joins the crew with Adrian Adams and Hakeem Abdul-Sabur on the back handles.
Yeah, and this is a good crew. And Alana actually raced in Cody's sled. So Cody, if you're watching, we miss you, and rest up and get back to us soon. But good start, 5:15.
Oh, big skid though.
Yep, that might have cost them everything they gained on that start.
Yeah, so easy to give away speed. It's so flat here and then goes uphill into 2. And then back uphill out of 3 up to 4. Look, you're coming up to the camera and over the brow. It's not an illusion.
Exactly. There's lots of little uphill sections in this track, which makes it really tricky to find that speed.
Tied for the lead with Michael Vogt of Switzerland. So his 300ths of a second or 500ths of a second advantage is gone, and he's in the red.
tap going into corner 11, but smooth out. Or sorry, 9.
Now Vogt
High on the end.
yeah, Vogt had mistakes here. Oh,
Yep.
wild from Olsen. Just about gets straightened up by the wall and across the line. He'll drop 2 or 3 spots, 5 places, but that was as close as you get to crashing without actually crashing on the left, coach Brian Scheimer.
Yeah, and Justin had some trouble with that curve the last day of training, so it's tricky down there, especially in a 4-man when you have more weight. They say that the 4-men are harder to get out of trouble, and it shows.
Easier to get in to trouble and harder to get out,
Yeah.
There's a lot of weight pushing it on when you're trying to get it off the corner.
Yeah.
Well, here's, look, you see he's dropping down below the lines, and then centrifugal force pushes him up, doesn't it?
That wave in 11 is what really hurt going into 12 and 13.
And he gets straightened up by the wall. And when
You can see the brakeman just flopping around back there.
Where we saw the Swiss leg go over, it was the same place, but there was just more weight up high and tipped them over. So
watch some more.
yeah, watch some more. There we go.
Watch tomorrow. He's got a good head on his shoulders. He'll be back.
Next up is a World Cup rookie here in Winterberg, Viesturs. Made his 2-man World Cup debut at home in Latvia last week, and here the 4-man debut. Brand new boy on the sled, Maris Pukelis at 2 as well, joined by Darbis Springis and Intars Dambis. Some real Latvian veterans.
Yeah, 5:19 on the start, 200 slower than the first heat, so it's pretty typical across the board. And so far, 1200ths of a lead, so that's, on this track, that's quite a bit of a good margin.
Well, so far, Michael Vogt of Switzerland, the current leader, has picked off Yun Jong-won and Justin Olsen. Can he also claim the scalp of Ralph Bertsins? The gap stays at 1200. Bertsins is creeping away slowly.
It's a good day at the office for a rookie crew to pick some people off in the second heat.
Yeah. Oh, here we go, down to a 10th. Now we get down into the real quick portion. The Swiss sled was very quick. Has he got enough in the tank?
And this is looking good.
Down to 600s though. This is going to be very close to the line again, Brittany. And is it? Oh!
400s.
Look, you see the Swiss boys get, so
They
close.
had a good day though. It was a good day for them.
Yeah, living life large in the leader's box, but Ralph Bertsins and his boys might now get a couple of minutes because the gaps here are tiny. The sled that was quicker than them in the first heat was only 100th quicker than them, so this next one could go either way.
It really could. I don't even think you could start and stop a stopwatch in 100th of a second. That's how close it is.
No, not a chance.
Pretty clean bottom, though. I was really impressed with the way he drove the sled down there, compared to the sleds before him especially.
Yeah.
Controlled that second wave in 11. Set him up nicely for 12 and 13.
So there you go, first World Cup 4-man race done. And now they get to hang out in the leader's box. 9 down and 10 to go here in Winterberg, Germany. First 4-man race of the new season. First post-Olympic race of the quad. Next up is Markus Treichel of Austria with Markus Gluck at 2, Seb Mitterer, a rookie, at 3, and Christian Huber at 4. Huber, a very famous sliding name for several countries, a very familiar name in the Alpine regions of Austria, in the Tyrol and in the Südtirol, the north of Italy as well.
5:16 was their first start.
Nice, neat and tidy load.
And 5:17, pretty consistent. Let it run a little too high in the kink, but he's still on the green.
All right, so his advantage over Bertsins of Latvia, 100th of a second from heat 1. He's 300ths in front now, 100th back.
And we've got a race.
This could go either way.
It really can. Little skid there, back end kind of skid out from him.
That's another 500s gone.
Yep, down to 200s.
Oh, now, hang on a minute.
Brush there.
What's he got in hand out of the Kreisel? How's the speed? Not as quick. He was quicker than the Swiss, now not as quick.
Tap before 11 is pretty costly as well. 9, can't get my corners straight.
Wow, 100th behind, he's coming. Now the Swiss sleds have been the fastest at the bottom. He's still 100th behind. What has he got? Can the Austrian take the lead by 100th or 2? 100th of a second in it.
Coaches are excited.
They came down 54.93. Ralph Bertsins came down 54.93. The difference between them after 2 miles of ice, 100th of a second that Treichel earned in the first run.
He did. His first run was a lot smoother than his second run, but his first run, like you said, kept that lead, and it's the combination of 2 runs. You have to have 2 good runs.
Who wins a 2-mile race by 1/100th of a second?
Yeah, that's insane. Is the nature of our sport, bobsled.
Yeah, particularly here. Well, there were mistakes, no doubt about it. He'll try and tidy those up tomorrow, and he'll have the benchmarker today to judge himself against. But at the moment, he's set for a top 10 finish, guaranteed.
That's awesome.
So it's Marcus Treichel, Ralf Bertjens, Michael Vogt, our top 3, as we have 9 sleds to go in the opening 4-man race of the season. Dominik Dvorak of the Czech Republic, 9th after heat 1, 1/10 away from the current leader, Marcus Treichel of Austria. Now, these guys didn't make it into the sled in the first run of the final day of training. There was a crash in turn 1. Dvorak ended up at the line at the bottom in a 4-man sled on his own. And they all got back in and went again. There were no dramas in heat 1, much tidier load in heat 2, but again, rides the first corner bump. And Brittany Reinbold, that's going to cost him.
It is, and this crew has been pushing some pretty impressive start times. They're the 3rd fastest start of the first heat, but they just dropped back. Oh, no, they were pretty consistent. So we'll see if the start time holds. It's going to help him out despite the hit.
All right, 2300s up on Marcus Treichel of Austria. And you're right, the athleticism of this Czech crew is growing in leaps and bounds. And last year, Dvorak just really developed as a driver. He's now the Czech #1 after Jan Verber retired after the Games. In fact, he was the de facto Czech #1 before the Games.
Yeah, and so far, I think he's going to maintain this lead, maybe even move up, because it is a close race ahead of him.
Hey, paint this sled yellow. This could be a German run. Look at this, 2800s up. This is a really great run. 54.72. He came down 54.69 in the first heat. So really solid run from Dominik Dvorak. And the sled in front of him was only 100th quicker. See, those runs pile the pressure on the guys who are yet to leave the blocks.
I agree. The way to win races on this track is by a good push and a good drive, and that's exactly what these guys just did. And so I think we're going to see him climb. Yes. Heads are in line, you can see in the sled, just smoothly coming around this corner here, nice and patient off the exit, putting it right down to the next corner. Well, that's okay. That's okay. That's actually really good.
Yeah, quick transition, 11 to 12. Little fop is never a problem. Dominik Dvorak and the boys have put their training mishap long behind them. And 9th place and no worse will be their result today.
I wouldn't be surprised if they move up to the top 6.
Yeah, me neither. Alexander Bredekin, the Russian rookie, with Andrei Livlov behind him. And then Ilya Malik and Roman Koshalev. And Bredekin with experienced brakemen behind him in his first season in the World Cup. Made his 2-man debut last week, 4-man debut just a little over an hour ago.
5:16 was the first start in the first heat.
Well, these guys, decent starters, but Bredekin is short on knowledge on this track.
Yeah, they're in the red, and they had a pretty good skid out of that kink.
Well, they started 0.8 slower than Dominik Dvorak of the Czech Republic's crew, and so that immediately gives away any advantage they had, and the kink will add to that. It'll be nearly 0.2 probably by the Kreisel.
Exactly. Let's see what this split gives us. And they're actually gaining some time.
Okay. So he heard me and improved his performance. I only opened my mouth to change feet. Here we go, out of the Kreisel, 96 kilometers an hour.
Yeah, it's a little sloppier than the Czechs, but they are gaining time, which is surprising. I guess I jinxed it.
Yeah, fast and loose. Here we go, closing down the gap.
Oh,
700ths of a second. This could go either way. I still think Dvorak's got it.
Nice.
By 800ths. 54.81 slide for Bredekin. Certainly no disgrace on his World Cup debut.
Definitely not.
And I think he might be have quite a big future in the Russian team. He looks good. First time out of the box in 2-man and 4-man.
Exactly, and the Russians have such a strong sliding program that to come out here and be competitive in your first World Cup is something to be proud of.
And he's got a good, strong backup behind him, but he's still very inexperienced. Has not done a lot of races at the junior level either. See, better speed than Dvorak's sled. That's where that gap closed. And then in the final corner, just not quite enough. Maybe one steer too many from Alexander Bredekin. Dominik Dvorak leads, Bredekin second, Treichel third, as Monaco's Rudy Rinaldi comes to line, first off in the season in 4-man. And a good top 7 run for Rinaldi, just 500s away from a tie for 5th. So he could pick off 2 sleds here if he has a good run.
He definitely can.
1200s a second, the lead over Dominic Dvorak before they leave the line.
They're in the green with a 5:20 start. That might hurt him a bit. That's 500 slower than the first heat. And those hundreds make a big difference on this track.
Yeah, because he was a 10th slower than Dvorak and only had 1200s in hand.
Exactly, and that's why we see him in the red already.
Yeah.
Only 200s behind, though, so it's still anyone's ball game. Because this is looking like a pretty clean run.
Dropping 2 or 3 stories out of corner 5, starting to pick up speed a little. Ice flies as he runs down towards the Kreisel.
It's close, but how close will it be is the question.
Well, the gap has doubled from 2 to 400s, now back down to 300s. Here comes the Monaco sled, picking up speed.
Looking clean down here at the bottom, real clean, but still 500s back. Can he find the time in this warp zone?
Oh, I think Dvorak's got it. He does. 54.92 for Rudy Rinaldi. Well, there you saw Bruno Mijon, the legendary French bobsledder and Olympic medalist. And Rudy Rinaldi in second by 800s, tied with Alexander Bradikin. He was 1100s ahead of Bradikin in the first heat, so Rinaldi didn't find the pace in that second run, but he, like everybody else, can come back and do it tomorrow again.
Exactly, tomorrow it's anyone's ball game, and it's still, you can see his runners working right there. Those are our tips are really working out of that kink turn. The bottom, he had a weird little like fly skid thing there, but it's pretty clean. So we'll see what they could do tomorrow. Make Prince Albert proud from Monaco.
Absolutely. Last year, the 30th anniversary of the Monaco Bob Club. So there is Rudy Rinaldi and the crew. Drop a spot or 2, but learning all the time. Still one of the younger drivers on the circuit. 30-year-old Maxim Anginov, a former loser, so he's had a long time on ice. Alexei Zaitsev, Vasily Kondratenko and Ruslan Samitov in the sled. Coach Sergei runs from the front to the back. Now these guys, 500s in hand over, I beg your pardon, no, they were tied, weren't they, with Benny Meyer, so tie for 5th place.
And fighting for a podium spot with the Czechs.
Yeah.
5:10 start, that's competitive.
That's the same as the Czech Republic, so he keeps his first round lead alive, 1700s.
It's gonna come down to his driving ability. Ooh, they found some time. That's what that corner 2, that Omega corner does for you. You could come out of there either blazing fast or dirt slow. It looks like he found the speed because he's just gaining.
Had a bit of a loose run in the first heat, didn't he? But it seemed that that actually really worked because he was steering less and cutting less ice, and so it wasn't ugly. It was ugly, but it was fast. 3,500s up. This is a really big run.
It is. This is going to challenge the Austrians who are up next.
Well, now, this might actually put a little bit of pressure on Johannes Lochner, who's in 4th place as well.
For sure.
Wow, big lead from Anginov, 54.51.
That was one of the cleanest runs we've seen all day, I think.
Yeah, that's the fastest run of the second heat. That's only 300 slower than world champion Johannes Lochner went in the first heat.
Yep.
That's a big run from Anginov. And it didn't look any tighter. You know, if tidy is fast, that wasn't a fast run, but it was.
Exactly, and they're guaranteed a top 6 finish, maybe even higher. Little hit there, but we've seen that from every sled today.
Well, Anginov, 18th here last year in the snow, and as you say, guaranteed at least a top 6 finish. And that lays down a marker for Benny Meyer of Austria. Meyer had the time in the first heat that Anginov tied, so Anginov goes first, and Meyer then defends his nominal lead in the dead heat. So 54.52 from both sleds in the first heat, and Anginov has just laid down a 54.51, so Benny Meyer cannot afford to be even 200 slower than his first run, or he loses a spot.
Exactly, and they could make or break that in the start. Their first start time matched their downtime in the placing. 5th place and 5th place, so let's see if they can move up here. 5:14, there's those hundreds, and a big hit and skid out of the kink.
Gives away 400s to Anginov of the no hundreds he had in hand.
Yeah, so far the Russians are winning this tiebreaker, down to 10th.
Yeah. Now, at this stage, the gap from first to second is very nearly 4/10 of a second. However, he doesn't want to lose even one place to Andrionov.
No, and he had that brush going into Kreisel, as we've had all night.
Yeah. Needs the speed from the sled at the bottom.
Yeah.
Oh, needs a lot of speed. Andrionov was much quicker there.
A little skittish going into corner 11.
1500's back.
Recovers it going into 12 and 13.
No, the gap's too big. He's going down into second place. Andrionov is going to take a top 5 finish. And Benny Meyer in second place. Andrionov on the left. 54.71, 2/10 slower. That's not the run he needed.
Definitely not.
Didn't look any less tidy than Andrionov's, so maybe their runner choice was more suited to the conditions a little earlier than it is now. Maybe there was just a bit more steering going on, and of course this.
I think that kink right there is what cost him that tiebreaker.
Yeah, the kink and the skid.
You can see the crew's a little unstable in the back too, which kind of shows you the movement of the sled. And then here, coming into corner 11, the back end got away from him a bit.
Yeah.
Most athletes, most sleds don't actually get onto corner 10, but he actually used corner 10, which could have caused that skid.
So it's Maxim Andrionov who leads with 4 to go, first of whom is last year's winner, Johannes Lochner. So Florian Bauer joining the crew, Christopher Weber and Christian Rasp, and they were only 800s out of the medals, so Andrionov, Schmandrionov, he's just looking ahead to try and overhaul the Latvians who lie in third.
Exactly.
Now he's 2400s away from the lead after the first heat. That is going to need some kind of superhuman effort.
Yep, and a 5:04 start. They had the fastest start of the first heat, and there's a good chance that's going to be the fastest start of the second heat as well. So let's see if that start propels that velocity down the track. 1400s to work with.
Missed out on an Olympic medal by a few hundreds in the 4-man competition, so he'll be really eager to get his season off to a winning start.
1700s ahead, he's pulling ahead on that lead. Trying to chase down those top 3 and get into the medals.
He was a European 4-man champion here a couple of seasons ago, and a world champion a couple of seasons ago, tied with Francesco Friedrich. 2/10 in the lead over Andrionov. This is a real challenge for Oskars Kīpemanis of Latvia. Needs the speed in the final corner and across the line. 54.48 first heat becomes a 54.35 second heat. That's a very big improvement for Hansi Lochner on this tough Winterberg track. Tough to find extra speed on.
Yep, he's 200s in the lead, which puts him well into 4th place. The question is that enough to move up into 3rd? He's excited. That's a good sign.
Yeah, jawohl from the boys.
This was pretty clean. The thing is with this track, a lot of, except for this hit right here going to Kreisel, you can have good looking runs. It's just a matter of, are they fast or not?
Well, 54.35 in the first heat would have put him 3rd, compared to his 54.48 that left him 4th. Is it enough for a medal? And if it's enough for 1, is it enough to move up 2? Well, let's see. The man who's trying to prevent a German clean sweep, actually he doesn't care about the Germans, it's all about getting a medal for himself. Oskars Kīpemanis of Latvia, Matis Miknis, Arvis Vilkasti, Janis Stranger. This is the #1 pushing crew. Dalmas Dreyskin's also on the sick list at the moment, recovering after post-games surgery. 5:07 start in the first heat, second quickest. Can they go even 100th quicker? 5:07, that's a good start.
Yep, they tied their first heat, and that's going to well be the second fastest start of the heat. Can they move up and maintain this medal position?
All right, in the green, 500ths of a second in front as he sat down. It's down to 100th over the world champion in 4-man.
Oh no, we're in the red.
All
But
right.
he's still got some track to work with.
Lots of track still to go. Now he's going to have to be very good here. Gets the double tap to straighten him up into the Kreisel, same as Lochner.
Let's see. He's bleeding time all the way down this track. Can he find it in the bottom portion?
I'm saying already no. I think the German sled was too good at the bottom. The Latvian is very clean.
He's super clean and losing time. That's not a good sign.
No, this is going to drop him out of the medals for sure. Second place, 54.60, empirically not a bad run, but not what he needed. He needed to at least match his first heat. Hansi Lochner and the crew are in the medals, and only 2 sleds remain, but there was a sizable gap. 2400s ahead of Lochner to silver, to gold rather, 2200s to silver.
He had it. The kink was a little squirmish. I guess not good enough to win a race, but still not bad. He's worst case 4th position, but clean run at the bottom. Just didn't have those speeds. Had the start, drove well, but not good enough to beat those Germans on their home track.
Yeah, you're looking there at the tiny details that make the difference. Winterberg, Germany, 2 sleds to go to decide the first 4-man race of the season. And it's world champion versus world champion. Hansi Lochner leads. Francesco Friedrich is ready to go now, second after the first heat. They were tied for the world championship over 4 heats in Koenigsegg, Bavaria 2 years ago. But since then, 2-man worlds and Olympic 2- and 4-man gold medals have come Friedrich's way. Can he win here as well?
5:08, that's better than their first heat on the start. They're here and they mean business.
Well, the boys know that every 100th they can give Friedrich could be the difference between second and first. They were 200s off gold in the first heat. 1500ths
of a lead. I think we're going to have a German winner. The question is, which German is going to be the winner?
Well, we may well have a German sweep of the podium, but it'd be very unlikely not to. The Germans are going very well here. Friedrich, the Olympic champion, 1800s in front when he sat down. It's down to 1300ths of a second. Lochner has put down a storming second heat. Friedrich must find more pace at the bottom.
Looking good.
1200s, the gap's coming down.
Can he hold off his teammates?
It's still too much for Lochner. He's past the final danger point. Friedrich is going to take the lead away from Johannes Lochner, guarantee himself at least a silver. 54.42. So not as quick as the first heat, but quick enough to take the lead now with Janus Becker, Martin Grotkopp, and the rookie Alexander Schuler. Schuler on the back was on the 2-man sled of Friedrich, the first World Cup in Sigulda, 1 gold. This is his 2nd race.
Wow.
First World Cup in 4-man. Is it going to be twice that lightning strikes?
We'll see. Maybe he has that rookie luck.
Yeah.
You can really see those runners working out of the kink. I'm going to have to try that next time.
Yeah. Well, everybody does it. Little twitch.
Yeah.
I don't know why it straightens the back up.
It does.
But it does. Yeah. All right, well, there you go. Francesco Friedrich, the Olympic champion, is leading. Hansi Lochner there, his teammate, goes to offer his congratulations. But now it's Altenberg driver versus Altenberg driver, because our first round leader was Nico Walter from Freital, just outside Altenberg, with Paul Krentz, Alexander Rödiger, and Eric Franke. Krentz, the rookie in the sled. And Nico Walter finishing in the silver medal position in the Olympics and here last year. Would love to go one better. Well, this is elite sport in sliding, and this is every fraction counts. 100th at the start, 100th in a mistake can be the difference between win and lose. 5:09, 200s quicker than their first heat.
They mean business. You know, when they come out firing, pushing faster than they did in the first heat, they want this victory.
Well, Friedrich's crew went 100th quicker, Walter's crew went 200s quicker, so his 200s advantage becomes 3. What will he have left in 3/4 of a mile?
We're about to find out.
Yeah.
He's gaining 500s. Oh, a brush there, though.
Well, Friedrich had the same, Lochner had the same, little tap and then a double tap to straighten it up. And the gap remains 500ths of a second, little wobble there. Now then, he's got to keep it neat from 10 into 11. Good exit off 11. Oh, 600ths of a second, top speed so far, 134.4 for Friedrich, but it is going to be victory for Nico Walter. Going away by a fraction, 54.37. He beats the world champions and the Olympic champion into 2nd and 3rd. Nico Walter wins the first 4-man World Cup race of the new quad of the new season, and he will be delighted with that. We will find out later whether that's last year's sled or the brand new FES 4-man, but either way, Nico Walter had just what it took.
Indeed.
700ths of a second to second, Hansi Lochner, 2200s back in third, but it is a German 1, 2, 3.
I'm starting to think whatever sled they're in, it's still going to be fast.
No doubt about it, but fast doesn't do it. It has to be super fast to beat that man, Francesco Frugic. And Nico Valter started his four-man season exactly how he wanted to. He was super excited after training. He really thought the new sled felt even better than the old one, and he loved that enough. And there's Martin Grottkop offering his congratulations to our winner. And Brittany Reinbold, you know, the Germans always put on a bit of a masterclass here. They know the track well. It's impossible to get a four-man down without mistakes, but he made fewer than anybody else.
It's true. Those little mistakes cost you. It's who could do the least.
Well, great run from Nico Valter under real pressure with the Olympic and world champion breathing down your neck. And, you know, he trains at the same track. They are, you know, near neighbours down near Altenburg. But it is Nico Valter who comes out on top from Francesco Frugic and Johannes Lochner. Germany go 1, 2, 3. Oskars Kibermanis, Maxim Andrinov. What a result from him. And Benny Meyer rounds out the top half dozen. Dvorak 7th. Rudy Rinaldi of Monaco in 8th position. And rookies Ralf Bertzins and Michael Vogt just off the podium. So entertaining race, and we get to do it all again in 24 hours, or less than, as we go tomorrow lunchtime for our second four-man race. Pretty breathless stuff, very empty at the top now. The Glühwein stand has done business for the day, and everybody has made it down to the finish area at the end of the race. And yeah, great views of this track. I do love, I was saying in the break, I love night racing. The track really stands out and you can see all of it so clearly. Its elevation changes, and this track's got a few, both down and up, doesn't it?
It does, it does. There's two major uphill sections you have. Actually, corner 3 goes uphill, and then as well as that finish curve, such a huge, like you were saying, 2 stories uphill,
yeah.
But you can't really tell on the camera until you're down there walking, looking at the track. But you're right, the crowds move down. They're all down here to congratulate their hometown teams, the Germans, 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
They had a band playing. It's a party.
Yep, Germany went 1, 2 in the women's race. Only Anna Kohler off the podium in 4th spot. Held off by Alana Myers-Taylor, and she got to double race duty.
Yeah, Alana Myers-Taylor has 3 races this weekend.
Yeah, that's lots of track time.
For sure.
There's Johannes Lochner, always dead straight-faced and serious.
Yep.
I'm not sure he knows how to take a photo without a big grin. There's Marcus Treichel and his crew. They're very happy with their day as well, so they should be firm top 10 for the second of our Austrian sliders. And Benny Meyer in 6th position in the first of the 2 Austrian sleds. So Germany 1, 2, 3. And a good result for the home crowd. And as I said, we get to do it all again. Sleds will be on ice at 11:30 tomorrow morning. That's 10:30 Greenwich Mean Time. And I know that means it's still early if you're watching out west. Very early Eastern, it's even more early Mountain or Pacific time. But do join us if you can. We'll have all the action from day 2 of the four-man Bobsleigh World Cup. First four-man World Cup race of the season done and dusted. Victory for Nico Valter means he wears the metaphorical yellow jersey of our World Cup points leader. His sled will be yellow, of course. So will Francesco Frugic and Johannes Lochner's, because that's the colours of Deutsche Post, the German sponsors. Oskars Kibermanis 4th here, 4th in the points. And our finishes are all reflected in that order. So there are the World Cup standings after the first of our 2 races this weekend. And after a fine run to lead by 200s in the first heat, Nico Valter doubled up and actually extended his advantage to 700s in the second to claim the first win of the year. And US driver Brittany Reinbold was racing on the track today. It's fairly straightforward, but really hard to keep that speed alive, Brittany.
It's true, it's true. And you know, athletes, we always just want a fair race, and we had a fair race here today.
Yep.
It was no snow conditions, but still, at the end of the day, you got to find those little speed spots, and it's tricky on this track.
Yeah.
Easy to make it down, hard to make it down fast.
The easier looking the track, the harder it is to find that extra fraction and to hold on to it as well. Here, the devil really is in the detail. Look at that little far section down the bottom, 11, 12, 13, and then the huge sweeping uphill corner 14. The camera does not lie. So the crowd are down there waiting for the presentation of our top 3 teams, and they're busy getting all their warm clothing on because, boy, it is definitely not warm out.
That is true. It is chilly out there. As the nature of our sport, we're a nice sport.
Yeah, that's right. Well, sometimes it snows, oftentimes it rains here in Winterberg, but today it's just cold. Stefan Freeling of the IBSF, the Bobsleigh and Skeleton Federation, presents the flowers to our later rivals, our third place team, Johannes Lochner and his crew from Bavaria. And from Germany, I guess, secondary, they would accept that too. Second place, the Olympic and world champion in 4-man, Francesco Friedrich and his crew.
Lots of yellow jackets up there.
Yeah.
The Germans love it. The rest of the world, not so much.
And our winners from Germany as well. Nico Walter, Paul Krentz, Alexander Rödiger and Eric Franke. And Paul Krentz here in Germany. Back to Paul Krentz. For some reason, he was Pavle Kaminski when he was sliding last week in Sigulda. Clearly, autocorrect is a thing on Latvian scoreboards. And from the sponsors, alcohol-free, of course. The local brewery is Mushed, not too far away, and Felton's proud sponsors of the ice arena here. But there will be doping controls afterwards, so a tentative sit perhaps will be all that they will make. There's your podium. Walter, Friedrich and Lochner, a German 1, 2, 3. We get to do it all again tomorrow. My thanks to Brittany Reinbold for her rookie performance behind the microphone. You'll hear more from her this season, I'm sure. And Anne van Nieuwenhuis will join us for tomorrow's race. Please join us too as well. We'll be here on air at 11:30, 10:30 GMT. We'll see you then for tonight. From Winterberg in Germany, auf Wiedersehen and goodbye.